What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Movie Extra. I'm Nerdy Dustin. I am joined by Kelly and Brian. These two just created. Y'all know if you follow the channel, you know I'm obsessed with Magic the Gathering. I own a local game store that sells Magic, and I've been playing since the beginning. So this is a real treat for me. You guys directed and made the Ignite the Spark, the Magic the Gathering documentary, which is currently on Amazon. Are Where do I even begin? So what 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 started this? Like, how did this come into being?
Um, you know, Kelly and I and our third partner, Seth Polanski, we we're all filmmakers. We'd worked on projects in the past, and we worked on something together called Eye of the Beholder: The Art of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's a documentary that's also out on Amazon and a bunch of other places about the art of D&D. And we're all longtime role players. And when we finished that, we were both kind of, it's funny, Kelly and I were off on our own, thinking about what our next projects might be as solo filmmakers. And then we were chatting about it and we are like, oh, what are you thinking of working on? Do you have any ideas? What are you working on? And we both were on the top of our list was a documentary about Magic the Gathering. And it was like, oh, well, guess we're working on another movie together. And we kind of launched from there. And, our connection to it is, Seth has been a longtime player. I play a little bit. Kelly plays a little bit. But there's so much crossover between the people involved in Magic and the people involved in D&D, obviously, because Wizards of the Coast owns both of them, that we already had such a sort of deep understanding of where the game came from, its history, things like that. So it just seemed like a really obvious place for us to go next after Dungeons and Dragons. It's something we all found interesting, and we knew there were a lot of other people who would probably want to learn about it too.
And there was a lot of people we met during the production of Eye of the Beholder that were easy ins for us to get to people who were responsible for making Magic the Gathering. Peter Atkinson, for example, we had a lot of connections already built. And so it was just made our lives a little bit easier as documentary filmmakers. Part of the job is finding the people to interview. And so being them saying yes, more importantly. So already knowing that crowd, at least the artists, even though we originally decided the movie wouldn't be about magic art because that would be redundant to Eye of the Beholder. So even though we knew the artists, that's just kind of where we started to get to know people in the magic world in general.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. Love it. So a really good friend of mine, Brian, we know owns Narcell. They came on board. What was the process in that? How did Brian come on board? And
so Brian Volkweis, Nacelle, the Nacelle company, I have a long history with them. I originally made a documentary called Plastic Galaxy: The Story of Star Wars Toys. Brian was a big fan of the movie, and they eventually had an idea to do a series that many of the people watching this might have heard of called The Toys That Made Us on Netflix. And Brian came to me and said, hey, listen, we got this idea for a show. I know that you have done this movie about Plastic Galaxy. I'm a huge fan. Would you be interested in working on it with us? So I ended up joining the Toys That Made Us team as some sort of producer. It was a long time ago. And I've been with them doing projects ever since. When we decided to do Eye of the Beholder, when we finished that, we were looking for a place to distribute it. And I was like, well, we can see if Nacelle's interested. And they were. So they ended up distributing Eye of the Beholder for us. This time, when we decided to do Igniting the Spark, we said, well, let's go to them first and see if they'll be interested in this before we even go forward with it. Let's see if they're even interested and try and get them on board early on. And they were, and they ended up partnering with us from the very beginning. And it was great. It's an area Pop culture is something Nacelle knows really well. It's
Uh-huh.
someone that we've got a long, long relationship with, going back for me until like to, I don't know, whenever Toys That Made Us started. We're talking like 2015 or something.
Mm.
And then for Kelley, myself, and Seth, 2018 was Eye of the Beholder. So it made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense.
It's nice to know that it was very freeing to know that we had a distributor. We don't need to go find one after the fact.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part of making independent film is finding someone to get it out there. And so we had that problem solved for us, which was nice. And so it was a lot of freedom making the film because they trusted us to do something good.
Yeah.
And so it was nice not to have that pressure to be like, oh no, are they going to like it? It was pretty much they'd probably love it. We just have to finish it. So that was the hard part.
And the nice thing was because we had already done a movie with them, because I had this long relationship with them, they came in early. Unlike Eye of the Beholder, they said, well, what if we were to advance you some production money to help you make the movie? So they really were
Oh yeah.
tight partners with us early on. Whereas with Eye of the Beholder, they became partners with us after we finished. With this, really from the beginning. So it gave us some resources that we wouldn't have had. It was the type of thing where, as we're making the movie, they're checking in with us. Can we help you do this? Can we help you do that? It also gave us the flex when reaching out to people. We're doing this with Nacelle. We're doing it with this studio, as opposed to, hey, we're these random filmmakers
Yeah.
trying to move on the strength of our own resume of films, which was there. We had something. Kelley and Seth did a movie called Of Dice and Men, which was a narrative feature. It wasn't a documentary, but we had this sort of history. But Nacelle is Nacelle, and
Yeah.
they've got a much bigger reach than we do, which is great. So that helped a lot too.
Yeah, that is one of the toughest. It took us, my last film, The Forest Hills, it took us a year to find the right
Yeah.
distribution. We would get distribution that it just wasn't, come to the negotiating phase, and
Yeah.
then we're like, nah, this isn't going to fit. Move on to somebody else. And so the fact that Narcelle was on board right away like that is awesome. And if you're going to do something like that, like the Magic documentary,
Yeah.
that's who you'd want
Right.
right now
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff. Because Brian, his team, they are, I mean, the toys that made us, the movies that made us,
Yep.
everything he's doing with all the 90s pulp culture cartoons. And he just got Star Trek,
Yeah.
the toy line. So, like, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, when I first heard about it and I was like, wait a minute, Brian, are you producing this? That's so cool. So, yeah. And
Yeah. I still work with them. I mean, I was just on a Comic-Con panel with them, and Toys That Made Us season 4 and 5 was announced. It's actually announced a little while back, but we talked about it again at this panel. And one of the toys is Polly Pocket, which is something that originally I was making that as a movie for them. And we ended up porting it over to Toys That Made Us as an episode. So that's one that this time around I've directed. So as opposed to being just a producer on the series, these last however many years it's been. So we've kept that relationship with them, as well as because of Igniting the Spark, we're in constant contact with them as our film team. So it's this weird kind of it's like a big family structure.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, so it's really interesting.
No, that is in film. That's what you do. You get a family built and you stick with them, and then you get to make all the fun stuff. That's so awesome. What's next? Are you all teaming up for another? Because I've now watched both, and the documentaries are great.
Well, tell us what you thought of it.
Thanks.
Fantastic. I haven't done my review yet. I haven't done my review. It's not on Letterboxd yet, but 5 out of 5.
Thank you.
Great.
Did a fan.
Appreciate
As
that.
someone that's been playing Magic the Gathering literally since day one, y'all interviewed the right people. You touched on everything. It's beautifully shot. It's an amazing documentary. I absolutely love it, and I even love the art for for the poster. So
Oh,
yeah, y'all did an amazing job. So
the
yeah,
cool
Nerdy
thing, I'm
Dustin's
glad to
all
hear that you
about.
like the art because my wife is the art director on the film. She's an art director
Oh,
in
that's
real
awesome.
life.
Speaking of family, yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the
literally
thing.
in the
You
family.
build
Yeah.
these teams up, and we hired my wife to do all the animation and the poster in it. So I will let her know that you like the
Oh
poster
yeah, I
art.
love the
We
poster.
love the poster.
Yeah.
I would
Um,
love to get that printed off somewhere and throw it in my store. I think it's gorgeous.
well,
Speaking of
that's the
which,
depressing thing, by the way. We don't have posters anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's all
yeah.
Yeah.
digital, so you get these thumbnails, you get these little things. This like everyone, like I'm sure you did too. Everyone puts all this effort into their poster, and then it ends up being this tiny little thing that appears in an
On
Amazon
Film
queue.
Freeway or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say we my last film Forest Hills, we did get it. We ended up getting it on a limited run, so we got it in about 127 theaters,
Oh, nice.
Oh,
and
nice.
they actually wanted the posters for their lobbies. So it's just that alone made our day. The fact that
Yeah.
we actually got to go make all these posters and send them to theaters and have them in the lobby for just a little while. But you're right, like that's not a thing that really happens anymore. And
Well,
They're not as
so
often.
then I'm gonna flip this around. I mean, I ask questions for a living, and you're a filmmaker. So, what did you do that got a 127 theater run? Because we're in this space where everything, and I think a lot of filmmakers are in this position now, where we're in this space where it's all digital,
oh
and it's
yeah.
all streaming, and that's the kind of outlet most people are reaching for now if they're not a huge studio, and more, that's what the huge studios are reaching for because the studios are becoming the streamers and the streamers are becoming the studios, and I have a lot of things I could say about that, but I'm curious how you navigated that and ended up in theatrical because it's really cool.
Yeah.
So we did two things. Me and my director, we did a lot of cold calling.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
We called every theater franchise from AMC to Cinemark. We called everybody. And then our distributor got involved for a little bit there. I'm gonna be honest, they didn't want a theatrical run. I don't know if that's gonna get me in trouble or not. But they
what was
didn't
the
want.
reasoning?
Uh, Same reason. They just let's just do streaming. We're
Mm.
not gonna make
Got
any
it.
money. It's gonna because it costs money. It did cost us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. We broke even.
Well,
If I can't say that, I'll cut it from the interview. But like, yeah, we broke even. But still, it's just as a filmmaker,
yeah.
that's where we want our films to be seen, up
Right.
on the big screen. So,
Right.
so the obviously the bigger change, Regal AMC, they passed on us, but we were able to get it into some Cinemarks and some, local mom and
Independent
pops
theaters.
all
Yeah.
over. We got it into two drive-ins.
Oh,
We
cool.
premiered it at Smod Castle, which shout out to Kevin. Thank you for that. But yeah, it's nowadays and nowadays it's just picking up a phone and calling people. It still goes a long way, So it's that's what we
Yeah.
did, and we ended up with a
That's hardcore. That's a lot of work. That's
it
a lot of
was,
work.
and for it to break even, but
Well,
still, that's as a filmmaker, that's what
but
you want,
Yeah.
you
So
had people seeing it in a
yeah,
way that's very I mean it's such an old school approach. There's a great book by Don Coscarelli who directed Phantasm. He directed Beastmaster.
oh yeah,
He directed John Dies at the End, Bubba Hotep. So a great independent filmmaker. And he talks about in the book with Phantasm, with Beastmaster, independently working with the distributor, I guess, but independently getting this thing into theaters because none of those movies were released by Warner or Universal,
yeah.
and it was just this old school calling them up, booking the theaters, booking the screenings to get the movie out there. And it's sort of like you think that, well, it can't be done that way these days, right? Because it's all corporate consolidation and everything else. But I mean, you just demonstrated that that's still
You
a
can
thing that can be done, which I think is really cool.
now,
Yeah.
yes, you are most likely not going to get it into your AMC and Regal because they also want marketing dollars behind it and things like that. But
Of course.
these local mom and pop shops and the smaller chains, yeah, just calling them up, getting what they're booking and make it happen. I mean, like it'll cost you some money, but at the end of the day, as filmmakers, that's where we want our movie to be screened, is on the big screen. And we had several premieres. Like I said, we premiered at Smod Castle, and then I got to premiere it at my local hometown theater, which was great.
Oh,
So yeah, and that's what it's all about. So
It's really cool.
I'm the same. I know we've gone to this streaming model, and you know, I'm I don't know. I could do a whole episode just on like my whole thoughts
yeah.
on that too. But
Yeah. Well, if you do, call me. I have I have a few
done.
things to scream about.
But yeah, that's it's unfortunate that the way we consume our media has changed that drastically, and it's sad because when you look at theaters now, especially the big three, it's like we're just it's tentpole movies now. It's like Warner's and Disney, they all their movies go there,
Most of it.
and every now and then, like A24 somebody will get something in there, and but yeah, I mean,
Well, Kelly's been pushing us to do the festival route.
oh
And
yeah,
like,
Yeah, I mean, to limited success. So the problem with movies like ours and the distribution deals that it gets is that we are going immediately to streaming, right? With both of ours, with Eye of the Beholder and with Igniting the Spark. And so if you get released online, festivals are mostly out of the question because they don't want you. They don't want you if you've been screened online, or if people you can't
Well, if you have
guarantee them
distribution, like
right, or if
oh
you have
yeah,
distribution at all. They want
Yeah.
people who don't have distribution to take a big risk and say, I want you as my premiere. And that's only if they take you. And so you're risking all this time and money when you go the festival route as an independent filmmaker, hoping to get discovered for your distribution deal, versus the guaranteed distribution route that we went. We know it's going to get distributed. We know people are going to see it. But sure, it might not get in the festival circuit, but we know people are going to see and enjoy our movie. And so that was more important than taking a chance on festivals that
right.
some are scams, some are good, some are bad. It's a toss up with festivals, unless you're talking like the big 3 or 4 that are really, really
Yeah.
popular.
oh yeah,
But
yeah.
those are the biggest chances. Like everybody goes, I'm going to get into Sundance, and almost nobody gets into Sundance, right? So
Sundance,
it's
Tribeca, South by
right.
Southwest. Those are
They're hard.
like,
It's really
as
hard.
someone who's tried multiple times,
Yeah.
it
And
is
I mean,
not.
even the best films, don't get into those sometimes,
No.
for
Yeah.
different reasons. There's so many reasons films don't get in.
We almost got into South by Southwest though.
Oh,
but
nice.
but it was so again, I don't even know what I could talk about at the time, but so the Forest Hills it was starred Shelley Duvall, right? It was her return film, and they contacted us and they wanted, we'll premiere you, but we got to have Shelley there to
Mm,
Shelley can't leave her house. So
Right,
that's
right.
not happening. So, oh, look, we're no longer going to be at South by Southwest. So,
yeah, that's
That's
so,
sucky. That's
I
really
mean,
sucky.
that,
well,
but
and it's but that actually in a way ties into what Kelly was saying. The festivals, the reason they don't want someone who already has distribution is because they want movies who are they want to attract distributors. They want to attract studios, and those companies are coming here to find movies that they're going to put out there. And if you already have distribution, well, then you're not helping anyone
Right.
in terms of the bigger ecosystem.
They're not getting their pockets aligned at all. Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't even mean
Some
it
of
in
it's
the
that,
most
some.
nefarious way, but it's like there's an ecosystem at play.
Right.
And if you're not contributing to that ecosystem as such, well, there's a lot of other movies that are as good as yours, certainly. I mean, there are many great filmmakers out there, and they are looking for distributors. And so they present a reason for a distributor to be there. And that's great, because if the distributors are going to be there, then that attracts better films. So it becomes a cyclical thing.
Yep.
And I think the Shelley Duvall thing sort of falls into that too, because it's like, you are going to help their festival by being in the festival, by being there. It's just the way everything is transactional.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
And whether it's a subtle transaction, like your movie's really good, so we want it here because it'll attract people, and hey, great, that's very pure and wonderful, or it's a more overt transactional experience. It's always everybody always needs there to be a reason to be somewhere. So,
Yeah.
it's just part and parcel of it. I
I,
think.
I, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. No, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say the most important thing to me is yes, I've had the premieres of my films in a theater, like of Dice and Men, the narrative film we did. We had it at the AFI theater in near us, which is an old style theater, and really cool seats and a giant screen with curtains, and like the whole
Wow.
production of seeing the movie that way was wonderful, right? And all your friends and family came, and it was a packed theater, like that's a fun thing to do, and I love that experience. But I'm just as happy with the fact that Igniting the Spark is on Amazon and Google and Apple Play, and that people are seeing it. We know that they're seeing it. Even if we're not getting like dozens of reviews because it's not on free Prime yet, you have to rent it, right? But it's still, I know people, the eyeballs are still on it. I'm just not watching them watch the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the only difference. But it's people are still liking the film, and I'm happy.
I'll be
Yeah,
honest, in the day, as
it's
long as my movies end up on Tubi, I'm fine. I love Tubi.
Oh, Tubi,
yeah.
nice.
So
Yeah,
I do all my
yeah,
films end up on Tubi because that's where
nice.
but yeah, no, it's I do have a question though, and I don't know if you guys can answer
Sure.
this or not, and I'm only asking for two reasons because one, I'm a physical media collector, if
Mm.
it's what this podcast is really known for, and two, I have a store that I would love to sell it from. Is this going to end up on physical? Your documentary? Do you have
Not
any
really.
plans for it?
We don't. There are a couple reasons, but the biggest is it's just the uh, it's such a weird market right now, in terms of physical media. And my first documentary came out in 2014, and I sold 5,000 copies on DVD, not even Blu-ray.
Not even Blu-ray. Yeah.
Yeah. And selling it all independently. So it was great. I got like every penny went to me and I guess my Amazon store. So that was really exciting. That was really good. Eye of the Beholder came out in 2018, and like I still have a couple DVDs or Blu-rays sitting
Blu-rays,
on
yeah.
Amazon from that release where we had distribution, but we also put out physical copies. Because we had them, whatever. It was a thing you do. And they barely sell.
Yeah.
No one's that interested. So it's just for that and many other reasons, it just doesn't make sense, which is a bummer. I mean, I'm Gen X. I want physical media. You know what I mean? It's
Me too.
um,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make sense. I think this day and age, I run into too many people who don't even have ways to play that stuff anymore,
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I just know that you can play it in a PlayStation, right? Like
Right,
that's
right.
about it, right? Um, but yeah, I think last time around, I don't remember if I was for or against us having physical media. It was so long ago. I don't remember what side of the argument I was on anymore. On this one, I was
Yeah.
like, I like having that physical media in my hand too. It's cool. It's got a jacket. It's, printed. Yay. But the only people who want them is once in a while, people like yourself will say, "Oh, it'd be really cool to have it," or we're at a convention and maybe we get a table at a convention for whatever
Mhm.
reason, and then you sell some that way, like 10 if you're lucky over a weekend. And so it's
Yeah.
just you can't decide, and getting them printed, they want to give you 500 or 1,000 of them. And what are you going to do
Uh,
with the other 490 that you have left over, at the end of the weekend? So it's very hard to even predict
Yeah.
how many you would need and how many years you're going to have that 500 in your garage, which has happened to us before.
oh yeah.
Whether it be t-shirts, whether it be Blu-rays, we still have so many physical things because we just couldn't get rid of them for past films. So yeah, we didn't want to go down that road this time.
I also think that's not going to be the case for everyone. I think the type of movie you release, the market you're releasing it into, um, might give it cachet, or a collectability or something like that, where the physical media makes sense.
Yeah.
But it just isn't necessarily worth it for us to do that. Kind of the cat's out of the bag. It's on streaming.
Right.
It's anyone can watch it.
Yeah.
So I can't see us doing it. But yeah,
It sucks. It sucks not to have
Yeah.
that tangibility.
yeah, I miss
you
it.
know,
Yeah. And I've
be
literally had
like, this
people.
is my movie. It's like you can't do that.
I've literally had people tell me that because Forest Hills is on Blu-ray and DVD, and
Mhm.
they've only bought like, yeah, I only bought this because I have to physically own Shelley's last movie. So it's like,
And I know,
Well,
Brian, you could talk about
all right.
collectors and what they need to have, I'm
yeah,
sure.
I mean,
but I think, well, that's what I'm saying. I think there are definitely if someone asked me, do you think, I'm a filmmaker, I got my first movie coming out, should I do physical media or whatever? I wouldn't necessarily say don't do it.
yeah,
But I would say there are a lot of factors that you look at that help you decide whether it's worth doing it. And, is this something that you think your audience is going to want to own? Plastic Galaxy, ignoring the fact that it was 2014 and physical media was still a thing, it's Star Wars collectors. It's people who are actively trying to own things, and they wanted. I've seen photos that people will send me of their Star Wars collections, and in the collection is the DVD. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
that's
they have it
awesome.
on the shelf as part of this greater thing that
Right.
they have. So it made sense, and I often wonder, if I were to release that today, would people still have bought those 5,000 DVDs?
Yeah,
And I don't know. I don't know. But I do think there's more chance that they would than the people who were interested in our movie about Dungeons and Dragons art. You know what I mean? So it
Well, we're
really
talking
depends.
about Magic players here who literally collect cardboard and all of the cardboard they possibly can.
I was gonna
So, yeah.
say, if you did release this on physical and you teamed with Wizards and you inserted,
No,
Oh, well,
we're
just
not team.
hypothetically,
then you're getting into a whole
if that had
other
happened
thing.
and
Yeah,
inserted some rare card.
we didn't team with Wizards on
Oh no,
this, right?
I
Yeah,
know.
we
I'm just
did.
saying,
And
like,
that's not to be like, oh, we're like
yeah.
there's this adversarial relationship. There's not, but we didn't go down that route. We made a
Yeah.
very deliberate decision not to go that route.
Oh, you
And
didn't
even if
want? Okay,
Yeah, but to get to what you're saying, if we decided to strike up a partnership with them to put an exclusive card in the Blu-ray or something,
Yeah, that'd be
um, people would be buying it, sure, but they'd be buying it for the card, not
right.
for the Blu-ray.
Right.
And that would not change my opinion of the viability of physical
yeah,
media,
That's a good point.
for a movie like ours.
that's true.
It is. There are still a lot of people who buy physical media. We're seeing a bit of a resurgence in it right now because people are like, wow, it's really easy for Amazon to just suddenly make a movie vanish. And it's the same thing we're seeing in music. People are buying records again. People are buying tapes, which I'm a musician, and it amazes me that tapes are a thing that are coming back. And I get the desire that new generations have to own their music, but I'm like, but you do understand tape actually sucked.
Right.
The sound isn't that good. And if portability is what you're after, in that case, I would say digital is actually really good.
Yeah,
But whatever, people want that. So I get that. And we're seeing that with movies as well. But I still don't think for weird little indie movies like ours, that I thought was awesome. We have really good friends. Michael Epstein and Sophia Cacciola. They're both filmmakers, and they do really cool indie horror movies and things like that. And they released a movie on VHS,
Oh yeah.
which I think is awesome. And I bought it. I was like, I don't even have a VHS player
Yeah.
anymore,
If
but
we
I'm
could somehow
totally buying that.
attach that kind of collectability to what we have. That would be really interesting. Was that a cat behind you?
Of course, it was a cat behind me.
I also have a
Um,
cat behind me, but she's not doing anything.
yeah, my cat is
Yeah.
insane tonight. So.
I have Magic players behind me.
Oh yeah, they're the
Really?
same way.
There you
They always
go.
get into everything.
And they start
Uh,
running around and banging on walls,
um,
demanding to be fed.
s- okay, so Wizards was not on. So did you have to go to them for anything, or
Technically, no.
Technically, no. Yeah.
okay? Oh,
We
It-
did go to them early on, though, because we wanted to interview people who worked there,
right.
and we didn't want those people to get fired.
right, yeah,
So we thought we would proactively reach out to them, talk to their team, and be like, we're making this movie, we're going to be reaching out to your people. Can we kind of clear that path so that they can talk to us without having to worry about getting fired for talking to some weird documentary crew?
yeah.
But that was it. There was no kind of quid pro quo involved. There was no anything.
Otherwise, nothing, no involvement. Yeah,
That
like
was the
people
last
like
we ever talked to them.
like Gavin and Mark Rosewater and stuff like that. They just basically had permission to talk to us. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Gotcha.
But that was important to us. We didn't want anyone to get fired.
We didn't
being
want to
part of
not have
this.
those people, right? We
Yeah.
wanted to be able to have Mark Rosewater and Gavin in the film, for example, but we also, of course, didn't want to make it to be a drama to be in our film. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting Mark, that's
yeah, we were happy to get all of those guys.
that's
Yeah.
so awesome. Yeah, love the movie. You
Thanks.
two are amazing, and y'all, this is so great.
I have a
If-
question for you.
Oh, okay.
Yep. About magic.
Okay.
So in the movie, this is a test. This is a test, totally a test. What was the behind the scenes story that was revealed in the movie that you did not know that you liked?
Behind the scene.
Well, not behind the
No, no,
scenes,
no.
but like magic trivia almost. Like
I-
stories about magic you didn't know about.
I'm
This is like
I,
market research.
I
Yeah.
promise you I'm not a narcissist. But nothing. I know I've
You knew it all?
I have played on the Pro Tour. I have been
Damn
in
it.
Magic since it started.
All right.
I-
Which one did you like seeing on
I-
this on the screen then?
have owned 3 Magic stores. Like I currently am in one of my Magic stores. I'm gonna be honest, like just the fact that you got Mark Rosewater.
The
That was the big thing for you?
and the artists, the just the every there. So I can't remember the name of it, but there was another smaller Magic documentary done. It's probably been 20 years now, and
Is this the one about the Pro Tour?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Enter the Battlefield?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the exact one. So I'm sitting here, and I don't hate that, but like to me, it was one thing, if that makes sense, right? Like,
exactly.
so going into your documentary, I'm like, okay, what are they gonna do here?
Right.
Is it like, is it just like, it blew me away. Like, your documentary is, for me, would be the documentary for Magic. You know what I mean? Like, anybody getting into the game, and I can tell you there's so many new players now, they need to watch this movie.
what I think is interesting is this has kind of gotten to this interesting flex that Kelley and I faced when making the movie, which is there are going to be players or audience members like yourself who know Magic back and forth and know the history because you've talked to people who were involved in it. You know, you've had access to people that other more casual players might not have had, whatever. So you've learned a lot of the like kind of dark nook and crannies and secrets and behind the scenes stuff about this game. And then we knew we would have other audience members who don't know anything. They love playing the game, but just because you love playing the game doesn't mean you then spend every waking moment researching it. Like there's a lot of things that I like doing that you do the thing you like. That's what like normal people do. And for us, it was always, how do we balance that? so that we are satisfying people who already have a pretty deep knowledge of this game, where there's nothing we can tell them that they don't already know.
Case in point.
And then people who don't really know too much about the history, don't know too much about the inner workings of the game, where they're not going to feel like we're skipping over stuff because we're like, oh, they already know that, they already know that, they already know that. So that was really a difficult thing for us, but fun to kind of figure out.
So a really specific part of what he's talking about, for example, do we explain what tapping is in the movie? Now, somebody who doesn't play the game, it does not matter if they know what tapping is or not, right? Is it important that somebody know what tapping really means in the game? And, the vocabulary of the game doesn't matter. And so we decided people who play the game already know what tapping is. We don't need to tell them what tapping is. They know what tapping is. We don't have to belabor the point. And we decided to leave it completely out. We never, ever mentioned tapping, which is probably one of the more central parts of actually playing the game. But we decided to completely leave it out, and no one notices that we didn't talk about that little element, right? But it was something we literally talked about for half an hour on whether or not to include, something where Richard talks about tapping. It's crazy what we had to decide on for this film to not include things.
That was me. My question was because is you, Brian, and your husband, right? You guys all. What was the process like doing the documentary? How did you decide what artists to go after, who wizards to talk to, who what to show, what was that process like?
I mean, like Kelley said earlier, we kind of knew a lot of people, so we start with them. You know what I mean? We work out roughly in our head what we think the movie's about, and you do this with a documentary. You're like, I think, you do a lot of research, or you already know a lot of stuff, whatever it is. And you think you know what your story might be, but you leave yourself very open to then see what you uncover and see where it actually takes you. And so we kind of had that because we already knew a lot about the history of magic, and a lot's been written about it, and you can dig and find a lot of the basic story arc of Peter starting this company in his basement in Renton, and then it ends up being sold to Hasbro eventually. That's all there, but it gives you a place to launch from. And then you also look at who you know already. It's like, okay, we can reach out to these people and start talking to them. But I think very early on, we realized we have no movie if we don't have Peter, if we don't have Richard, if we don't have Lisa Stevens, if we don't have, Ramir Force, if we don't have these sort of four core people who were so vital to Magic, Richard Garfield, who literally invented the game, Peter Atkinson, who started Wizards of the Coast, Lisa Stevens, the first employee there that they hired, and who was so influential in shaping the company itself, and then Ramir Force, their first art director. So that, we knew that was our starting point, and then from there, I think you just look at who's going to tell your story. This is something that we had a lot of discussion about, like, oh my God, if we leave so-and-so out, people are going to be like, how did you not interview my favorite artist or whoever? Yeah. But there's 40 billion people who've worked on Magic over the last, 3 decades. And you obviously can't put them all in. I mean, it's impossible.
We did 70, by the way.
I was
70 interviews.
I just happen to have these on my desk right now. These are what are known as the art cards for Magic.
Yeah.
There are so many artists for this game.
Oh my God, right?
So I'm
the artists alone were a problem from the beginning, because there was the people who, even beginning artists, there was no way we could even get all of them in, even if we interviewed them all. I don't think we could have gotten them all in the movie.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things Kelley and I said eventually, after banging our head against this wall, was this movie is not about, it's not a yearbook where it shows every single person who was involved in this. This movie is about telling a story about this game. So who can tell this story? And there are lots of people who can tell the story. But eventually you have enough where they're telling the story, and they are important people. They were there for it. They were part of it. Are they everybody who is there for it? No, they weren't. But it's enough to tell the story. And that's where your fealty has to be, the story.
Right.
It's not about this person was involved in magic and this person and this person. And we want to hear
exhausting
interviews.
to do that.
Yeah.
That is something cool because everyone wants to hear from their favorite artist, or everyone wants to hear from a designer whose work they really appreciated, or whatever. But that's a very different thing, than telling the story of magic, where all these people are your sources. It's not about Mark Rosewater isn't in it because we want to introduce you to Mark Rosewater. Mark Rosewater is in it because he can talk about things that are germane to the story of magic.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that becomes the criteria you use. And you do that with everything, you do that with whether it's Toys That Made Us or anything else. You people as you can, because obviously the more voices you have, the better. But there is a point where it's diminishing returns or it becomes just impossible. That said, we did 70 interviews.
I mean, we did do that thing near the end. We're like, oh, we can. Well, Brian would go, how about this person? Can we get this person in? And of course, just so you know, I was the editor. Brian is the DP. My husband is the sound engineer and location sound and sound engineer. And we're co-directors and everything else. And so I'm the editor with the footage of 70 interviews. And Brian be like, can we do one more? Can we do one more? Or don't kill me, Kelley, is usually the way it would start. So we did end up adding more and more near the end. We're like, oh, well, let's get this one person in or get this, because we were already had the story in place. And we're like, oh, we need X person to finish this part of the story, for example. And that happens a lot. When you get editing together and you're like, oh, we have a hole we have to fill and we have to go find someone to do it. But
or you go back to someone you've already interviewed.
Right. And so ours is a historical documentary. So, a lot of documentaries, sometimes it's only one person being interviewed, right? It depends on what type of documentary you're doing. But in our case, it's a historical one that is also a story. It's not just here's what happened in order. It's a story about how it all came about. So anyway, long story short, no pun intended. We had 120 hours of footage in front of us to make a 2-hour movie. And now that I've done this twice, first time it was 40 interviews with Eye of the Beholder, and that was 72 hours of footage. I know that because I counted. And then this one was 120 hours of footage approximately, and that included 20 hours of 90s videotape. Which I wanted to put all of in the film. All of it was amazing. Every single moment of 90s VHS was amazing. I just wanted the entire movie to be VHS. But we had to include the other 70 people.
I will say Magic, the 90s Magic the Gathering commercials.
Oh my God.
They're the best. They're the best.
Yeah.
They made so we have a great story about how we got that. Do you want to hear it?
I do.
All right. And it's kind of going on tangents. But so Lisa Stevens is a giant Star Wars collector. Is she number 2 in the world or something like that?
I mean, it's hard to quantify those things, but she does have one of the best Star Wars collections in the world.
Right. And so when you are at her house, she has a theater in her house. And to get to one part of the theater, you have to open a door made of Han Solo and carbonite. And so you open a Han Solo and carbonite door and you get to her media room. And inside her media room was shelves of videotape. And she said, oh, look, it's, meetings we had at Wizards in the 90s. Oh, these are videotapes from MTV, and, we were sitting there, we have to have this. We have to have everything we're seeing. And we begged her for it. And she was so nice to give it to us and trust us with it. So we digitized it. We sent her back the VHS eventually. And we sent her the digitized versions as in payment for that. But I think that if she had not found that gold mine or not given us that gold mine, I don't know if the movie would have been as good as it is. I feel like, because we ended up anchoring a bunch on that VHS, not because we had to lean on it, not because it was a crutch, but because it was cool. And it it just filled out the story in ways I never could have imagined, ahead of time.
And that's why
it brings things to life.
Yeah, exactly. it's proof that things happened.
So this
Which
is why
is so
we have to save physical media.
that we come back to that. Exactly. It's true. It's true. It,
It's
it really made it for us.
I always say that I'm envious of anyone making a documentary in 20 years about stuff that's happening now because everyone's walking around, with their phones,
Right.
all of which is recording video, taking photos,
Right.
and all this stuff. They will have these kind of assets that when you're trying to make something that about events that took place in the 70s, 80s, 90s, it's not like people go into their office to take photos. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, who does
Yeah.
that? That's a weird thing to do. But every time we interview people, whatever it is, whatever show I'm working on, whatever movie I'm making, we ask them, do you have any photos from that time? Do you have any, God, any videotape would be great. And sometimes they do, but they are often like office parties or things that aren't showing the day-to-day life that you are trying to describe, to illustrate. It's rare that people have that stuff because it made no sense. Who did that back then? But now everybody does it.
Right.
It's like, oh, there's Dave at his desk. There's Sarah
Right.
at her desk. It's like, okay, great. Well, whoever makes a documentary about the stuff that's taking place now is going to be able to find all that. First of all, it's all online now, which is great.
Yeah.
So it'll be easy
They
to
can
find.
search it.
But
Yeah.
and it's really going to help bring the story of the 2020s to life for whoever's watching this in 2050, or whatever.
Right. In their eyeball.
And I'm very jealous of those filmmakers, those filmmakers to be, and I also hate them.
Well, feel sorry for them because they're going to be going through a bunch of AI junk as well.
Well, okay, there's also that.
Or they're also going to be like, what were all these people thinking? How did they allow this to happen? What were
Yeah.
they thinking?
Well, that too.
here? Like,
But Lisa, by the way, also had other physical assets that were unfreaking real. I mean, just that woman had everything. And
Well, the playtest
I'm
cards.
so grateful to her that the playtest
cards. I mean,
were
that's
all
the first
hers.
thing she showed us.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, mind-boggling to begin with.
I would have
Yeah.
passed out if I saw those.
We almost did.
I
pretty
held
close
the
to it.
Black Lotus. It was just like,
yeah.
what?
I would have.
Like the playtest of the Black Lotus, not
Playtest
even
of
the
the
Black
Black
Lotus.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it just spirals from there. You ask, how do we approach these things? It just goes from there.
Yep.
The hardest part is figuring out what your story is going to be when you're confronted with something. We talked about the other Magic doc, and I think,
Yep.
you say it's one thing. It's focusing on a pro tour.
One, right.
Yeah.
And that's a really smart approach to making a documentary about a subject as
Easier.
big as magic or whatever it might be. You cannot tell the big story. It's impossible. It's impossible to find a narrative thread. So you pick aspects of it that allow you to find something that has some drama, that has an arc, that has characters, whatever things you need to make a movie more than just an information dump, to make it a story. And they focused on the Pro Tour, which is great. It's a great
The
place
players
to focus.
specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a perfect way to approach something like this, and to spread it more broadly than that ends up diluting the story you're trying to tell.
Right.
So we went into this and we were like, we're going to tell the whole story, man. We're going to tell
geez.
everything, which is partly why we had 70 interviews.
Yes.
And it took a while, but we came to understand that it really has to narrow down from that. It has to be more focused than that. You have to find a narrative thread. It can't just be, we're going to tell you this, and we're going to tell you this, and we're going to tell you that. Yeah.
Can't do
And
that.
I think that's how we really ended up deciding it's only going to be this origin story. How did this thing come to be?
Not only
with some other things on the side.
Well, I think because you had to say, okay, here's how it began, in the basement, and Richard invented it, and that whole arc of the story. But we still had to explain what magic was, why it was culturally important, how complicated it was, so people had this picture of why this was such a momentous thing to be invented. So you had to give context.
Yeah,
and
of course.
that's where we got to fit everybody else into the story.
yeah.
It wasn't just the people who were there in the beginning, but the people like Mark and other people gave context to everything that happened. So we were still able to tell a lot of other things about magic, but it was all in service of that origin story. And so that was nice.
I
that it
think we
worked out
always
that way.
came back to the question, what is magic? And why does anyone give a crap?
Right.
You know, why do people care? And whenever we'd have a question about, should we include this? Should we include that? We'd put it up against that and say, does that serve that central question? And, you know, one of the things, you know, Kelley mentioned tapping before. One of the things we realized kind of early on is we're not teaching people to play magic.
Right.
So tapping can fall on the wayside. If
That's
nobody
right.
ever
That's
knows
right.
what that is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not helping them understand the story we're going to tell. But maybe we do have to explain the relationship between lands and the cards you're going to play, how this is the currency of magic, because if you don't understand that, then there are other things we're telling you that kind of just don't make any sense. Like
Right.
why, when we have Gavin talking about designing creatures and it's complicated because of the cost, or we talk about the color pie and all these, some of that is necessary. So we used my wife, so Mary Hawkins, she's like I said earlier, she designed our art, she did our animation, she was our art director on the movie, but she does not play magic.
Nope.
She knows very little about magic. And she became the person where we'd say, if you know this fact, will that help you understand the story? Or will it just be one more thing that you then have to like
Get distracted
push
by
out of your brain later on because it
Right.
doesn't matter? And if you don't know this fact, is it going to leave you confused? Are these other things we're going to tell you not going to make any sense whatsoever? So that became like a good kind of gauge that we could use. And then we would still, Kelley and I, you know, we're the co-directors, so we're going to still sit there and decide, well, maybe we're going to put it in anyway, or maybe
Right. If there's
maybe
another
we're going to
reason
leave it
add
out anyway, because we know enough of our viewers don't need that information. They'll still follow along. It's fine. But it gave us, at least it gave us like a sort of gauge to use. Like, is this totally us crawling up our own butts on information?
I love how you ended on that phrase. Oh my God, I have to follow that.
Yeah.
One of the lessons we learned on Eye of the Beholder was we never told people what D&D was. Like we never actually explained the game in Eye of the Beholder because we wanted to talk about the art, and you know, we just forgot that some people wouldn't understand how a D&D game was run. That more important.
We did give, there was a general sense that
Yeah.
it's a role-playing game and this is what a role-playing game is, but we never said like what a module is.
Right. We never explained some important parts of what makes a D&D game, you know, happen. And so, and it became, you know, there was a little bit of confusion for folks who didn't know those things.
Right.
And so that we heard after the fact, once the film was out. And so we wanted to be sure they got the idea of what the game was, at least understood functionally what it was, why it mattered, you know, how it worked, because that would feed all the rest of the film. And so we talked about it. We kept referring to it as a Magic 101 that had to happen in the film for everything else to happen later. And so we struggled with how to present the game, and it eventually came together great, but it was a long struggle to get there, to make sure it was still explaining the game, but not over explaining the game. And it made it interesting. And like, you know, it's amazing how much you debate for every second of your film.
What's funny is I think we became overly paranoid about it at first.
Yes.
Because, you know, the D&D thing, like not knowing what a module is in and of itself didn't matter until you have a whole bunch of artists talking about art they did for the module.
Right.
The module. And I remember my mom watched the movie and she came out after and she's like, what's a module? They keep talking about them. I was like, and we could have solved that with one sentence, you know,
Right.
D&D released these modules. They're really cool. And they all have great cover art.
We could have fixed it.
That's all we had to say. And she would have understood. So for Eye of the Beholder, or for Igniting the Spark, we shot sequences explaining everything. I mean, we have 100 angles of someone
Gavin,
tapping
what's
a
tapping?
card.
Say it. Can you say it, Gavin? Tell us what tapping is.
And explicitly, and as the movie came together and we came to understand, how much wasn't necessary to understanding the story. You don't have to leave this movie knowing how to play. You just have to understand the context of the story. Once we realized that, there's so much stuff that didn't get used. We could cut together a literal how to play Magic if we really wanted to, because we have so much
dozens of
explanation
so
of
much
the
footage.
most ridiculous minutia.
But one of the things we asked everyone to tell us, what is Magic the Gathering? Every single person gave us an explanation of the game in their own words. Sometimes it was literal, like it's a game that does this, that does that. Sometimes it was more of a monologue on
it's
what
a lifestyle.
Meant.
It's
right,
like
or
whatever.
it's a cultural phenomenon or whatever. But all those questions ended up being the very beginning of the film. We were able to use that to start the film, what people would, funny ways that people were saying what Magic the Gathering was. And then we used Peter explaining literally what the game was from like 1 minute in the film. Like that's where we started from. We got that out of the way. Here's what Magic the Gathering is. Now let's tell you a story now. So it worked out in the end, but it was just really funny how we ended up there.
Yeah. One day we'll do something with all those hyper
psycho
explanations.
Well, the cool thing about it is not only do we have 120 hours of footage, I would say, not counting the VHS and all of that, but like of the people we interviewed, 80% of that footage is good. Like, I mean, it's so hard to make the decisions on the film because everybody was such good interviews. It was amazing what we got. I mean, there's always going to be things that gets left on the floor because it's not very interesting or whatever. But like most
or not
people
relevant. It's interesting, but not relevant to the story you end up telling.
But everybody was just so well spoken. Like I said, 80% or more of the people we interviewed were just perfect interviews, and so
passionate. They're passionate, very passionate about it. Like they really. If you ask them, what do you love about Magic? They're not going to be like, it's a cool game, whatever, it's fun. Like, no, they have something they want you to know.
Yeah. Magic it's life.
Well, exactly. Exactly. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I would say Magic, it's community. That's at the end of the day, I think that's what it is.
We knew that from the beginning. From the beginning, that's
actually an answer I think we got. Someone probably said that,
I mean,
many times. Yeah.
I can still remember the beginning of Magic. The rules were not really set in stone, so everyone's, just like, I think this makes sense. Let's just like do this and that. And but yeah, honestly, I think that's what's really kept me around. I have made lifelong friends that I consider family now over this game that we love to play together all the time. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And
isn't that what's great about gaming in general? I mean, you own a game store, so it's not just Magic; it's anything, role-playing games,
D&D,
all this stuff. Yeah, I still game with people that I was friends with in college, you know, and it's. I know people who are probably running the same campaign that they started in college, and it's my absolute best friends in the world are people I met through gaming. And some of whom I had one experience at a gaming table with, and boom, it's like, I know I'm going to hang out with this person every chance I get because you click with somebody. It's such a fun thing. And I think that's one of the reasons we see all this stuff explode over the last few years. I mean, D&D obviously had a huge resurgence. Magic has just simply never gone away. Everyone kept predicting Magic's death. It's a fad. It's going to pass. It's so funny. It just gets bigger
35 years later. Yeah.
And now Magic is the biggest especially the universe is beyond stuff.
Oh, geez.
With them teaming up with all these IPs. Honestly, as someone who owns a game store, it has brought so many new players.
It's interesting,
especially when they did Final Fantasy. So many people that never played Magic, but they're like, hold on, Final Fantasy.
They had the gateway drug arrived for them. Yeah,
and now they're into it. And now they just came out with the Spider-Man set, and you got these,
and it's gonna keep going.
I mean, and they just announced all these secret layers with Dwight from The Office and Jaws and Iron Maiden. So you're just going to be able to get all these people. And yeah, I don't know that this game will ever die, to be honest. It's same with D&D. D&D
It's
has literally never gone anywhere since what, the 70s? Like
70.
no, but it has 74, yeah, but it has this like kind of ebb and flow. But I
Yeah.
think we are in a different environment now. Because I remember, I mean, I started playing D&D in probably 1983. And I remember for a while it kind of left the pop culture zeitgeist. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, you
Oh,
had
yeah,
the
yeah.
cartoon and you had a lot of merchandising and things like that. But then it kind of vanished for a while. And then it came back with fifth edition. It comes sort of roaring back. And I think we are in a different environment now than we were in before. And so you end up with a situation where you have all this like live play stuff online, and you have it for Magic the Gathering as well. You
yeah.
have ways for people to talk about it, even though they're not in the same towns together, which when I was a kid, if you didn't know people who played D&D and they like, didn't live in your town, you didn't play D&D. There was nothing you could do about it. Now kids aren't, and kids, anybody,
Yeah.
they're not hindered by those things. So it's allowed it to take hold in a way that it never could before. The other thing is you have the people who grew up playing D&D. Well, now they're in a position to make these decisions about what's going to be a movie, what's going to be a cartoon, what's the product line we're going to release, what's the tie-in we're going to do.
And they have the money to buy those things now too.
Right. So you have the people, you have the creators and you have the consumers that you didn't have back then. So it's solidified all these things in a way that we could not have imagined back then. It would have been inconceivable. And I think that's been really great for these games. And it's only made them more structurally sound, you know what I mean, within pop culture. It's turned them into the equivalent of comic books, you know, where Superman's not going anywhere, Spider-Man's not going anywhere. And I mean, it's great. It's someone, you know, I'm 50 years old. For someone like me, that's it would have been an impossible dream when I was in high school to imagine this.
Could
But
you,
it's
could
amazing.
you imagine? We're about to have Doomsday, the movie. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna see the X-Men, Spider-Man. I would have
Yeah.
never imagined we would get all this on the big screen. So yeah, no,
I mean, I read Infinity War when it originally was published way back in the day. And if you'd said, "Oh, this is going to be not just a movie, but we're going to make
How many?
whatever movies leading up to it, and they're all going to
yeah.
be tied together, and A, they're going to star the biggest stars in the world, and B, they're all going to get made. It's going to happen, and it's
And
going
be
to
the
end with
biggest
this."
movies ever kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
And they're going to
yeah.
change it. I would have never believed you. I would have been like, okay, sure.
Oh no, they've literally changed the film world in general. I mean, because everything now has to be a connected franchise, and
Right. Well, that's the
Uh,
money wage. I think.
yeah. And there's
So-
definitely
more
a
than
lot of
one.
negatives
Yeah.
to be said for this
Right.
sort of thing that we've discovered, but it just shows how different a world it is. It's sort of incredible to me. It's just
Yeah.
it's wild. But it's great.
Indeed.
You know.
Well, Magic, I think Magic will be here 50 years from now, and people
Mm-hmm.
are going to be sitting down watching your documentary 50 years from now and just being like,
Nice.
this
And
is
complaining
amazing.
about it that we
And
didn't put somebody in it. I'm sure. No, kidding.
Look, we put a lot of people in it.
We put enough people in it. So.
As one of the biggest fans of Magic, it was perfect. 5 out of 5.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I have nothing to say that it should have been done this way or
Good.
Yeah, I loved it. But Brian, Kelley, thank you so much for this. This has been a
Thanks for
treat.
having us.
I'm gonna be honest. Everybody I've interviewed, I love you all, but this is one of my favorite interviews. I'm sorry, y'all, but like, this has been so much fun.
When nerds get together, we have fun, man.
Oh yeah, and I'm not. I've had Brian on the podcast. Brian, I still love you, man, but like, this is.
I'm gonna tell him. I talk to Brian all the time. I'm gonna be like, dude, guess
Brian
what?
Volkweis.
You're now
Brian
the
Volkweis.
second.
Not Brian Stillman.
Yeah, the second.
Don't get me
coolest
wrong.
Brian.
Don't get me wrong. If you watch the Brian interview, because he actually came straight from a funeral to do my podcast.
Wow.
So,
What was the podcast about, if you don't mind me asking? What was he talking about?
I think we just talked mostly about the movies that made us,
Oh, okay.
and the toys that made us, and because this has been like 3 years ago. I don't think he had
Oh,
really.
okay.
So the toys had not really taken off yet. The
I don't think
Nacellverse
Yeah.
was still a dream.
No, Narcelverse was not a thing yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we mostly talked about that, and then obviously his comedy. He produces a lot of comedy
Yep.
Yeah.
specials, so we mostly talked about that. But yeah, he was like, "I'm coming straight from a funeral. I'm sorry." He was wearing a suit, and he's like, "It's the only suit I wore, so he stole, or only suit I own." So he told the whole story about.
Mm.
That's
Oh, that's
yeah, how he
funny.
spent $3,000 on this one suit, and it's the only
So-
suit he's
Well,
ever worn.
It's a multitasking
What-
suit.
One of the craziest things about Nacelle to me is the sheer number of Bryans that are involved
Oh
in
my
it.
God, so many.
yeah.
Our Comic-Con panel, so you've got Brian Volkweis, the guy who owns the company. You've got myself, who's a producer there and does a lot of movies and stuff for them. And then you have someone named Brian Adams, who does their marketing, PR, internet stuff. He's sort of a jack of all trades, really great guy. We work very closely with Brian. So we were all on the Comic-Con panel on
Was it all
Thursday.
last names only?
It
kind of
was
thing?
Brian, and Brian. And then one more person, Maude Campbell, who wrote a book that Nacelle published about Polly Pocket. And she was a co-producer with me on the Polly Pocket episode and movie thing that we did. So she was our honorary Brian, because you couldn't have someone on the panel who was not a Brian.
That's
So
awesome.
it was Brian, and honorary Brian.
I remember when I first messaged Brian, because I was like, about this, I was like, all right, Brian, I need to get Brian, and Kelley. I need to get you all on the podcast.
Brian.
I mean,
I'm
I've done
honorary
interviews
Brian
with him
Kelley.
before. Yeah, you'd be honorary. You'd have to be the
Yes.
honorary Brian.
No, Brian was like, no, you just want them. I know nothing. Like, just get them. So-
One of the cool things about working, you hear all these horror stories about Hollywood, and one of the nice
They're all
things about
dorks.
Nacelle is they all truly live this stuff. Brian Volkweis is a massive toy collector.
Oh, yeah.
He is a huge fan, one of the most knowledgeable people I know about Star Trek, very knowledgeable about Star Wars and other things. All these things that they cover and they produce, they truly are deeply into. And I know there are people over there who play D&D. I know there are people over there who play Magic, because I've talked to them about these things. So there's an honesty coming out of there. But the other thing I really like about it is they are all genuinely pretty decent people. Brian goes out of his way to credit us for the things that we've done, whereas I have met Hollywood studio people. I've met executives, I've met executive producers who are very quick to claim credit for things. And not just, okay, yes, this is a movie we brought to them, so we very obviously, this is our movie. But even stuff I've done that originated with Nacelle, and everything's a team effort. You can't deny that. But at the same time, Brian's very good about sort of making sure the people who make things for his company are acknowledged and have the credit for the work they've done, which I think is not something you see very often. He once yelled at me on a panel, not yelled, but for not taking enough credit. And I was like, okay.
Have an ego, Brian, number two.
No, he was very good about crediting Plastic Galaxy, the documentary I made, when talking about the origins of Toys That Made Us. And there are a lot of people out there who would have been like, Toys That Made Us, nothing before that matters.
Right.
There are interviews in print where he talked about how Plastic Galaxy was an influence and an impetus, one of them anyway. There are many. It's not like I came up with the idea out of thin air, but for this show. And I was really appreciative of that. So when you have a partnership like that between us, to sort of tie this back into what we've been talking about, when you find a partnership between a studio and filmmakers and the teams that are on both that are kind of working towards this thing and that have this mutual respect for each other, I think really good things can happen. And it makes me wonder why nobody else in Hollywood seems to, I don't want to curse on your show, but they seem to understand this. It's like, this is really very basic
simple
math.
Yeah.
And you don't see it as much, which is why you get these horror stories coming out of this industry. And I'm like, here's an example of how it can work. And it does work, and everyone's sort of elevated because of it. But hey, what do I know?
Nothing.
No,
Nothing.
it's so true though. It's why I try to work with the same people all the time in Hollywood, because it's like I would love to work with Brian someday. But like Brian's a great guy. I've gotten to work with Danny McBride a lot because his
Oh,
Rough
wow.
House pictures were we all live in Charleston, so
Oh,
Got
okay.
it.
I've worked on Righteous Gemstones and stuff. So like
Oh, that's cool.
that team, like at the end of the day, they love what they do, and that really shows into their projects and how they manage everything. And Brian's. I remember when Brian acquired the Cowboys of Moo Mesa, right? I messaged him and I was like, yes, this property is in the best hands it could be in. And that's with anything he's acquired. So, yeah, no, it's Brian's one of the best. And you're right. It's there's a lot of people in Hollywood that are not like that, and it's a shame. It really
Yeah.
is.
I think it's also a responsibility. I know I've seen Kelly do this. I do it. People we know do it. Where when people who are new to filmmaking come with questions and we talk about it, we will answer their questions. We will get into it. We'll give numbers. We will do things and say things that maybe not a lot of people always want to talk about, because I think there's a responsibility
Oh,
for the
100%.
people
Yeah.
who have gone through it to help the people who are coming up behind them, because there were people who helped us, who answered our questions, and I think seeing more of that, it's something I'd like to see more of in the film industry. You see it in the indie film industry more, I think, but
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think there's a responsibility to help each other. And I think I'll do any interview, I don't care if it's a small blog or whatever, if it's like 10, we have 10 listeners, it's like, okay, whatever, I'll do it because, you want to share information. You want to help other people.
Exactly. Impart your knowledge onto, no, I love it. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Share your mistakes,
Exactly.
Do not do this thing that I did because it sucked for like 6 months.
Y'all asked me about how to get a movie into theaters. I will gladly tell anybody.
Yes.
I'm not going to be like trade secrets.
Right. Gatekeeping. Yeah.
I have no
yeah.
trade secrets. I will.
Nope.
I will respond to any questions about how to do this stuff, because everyone's always you're always learning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're always trying to get better.
And
yeah.
The best thing about filmmaking in general, the connections you make, and where that can take you, where it takes everybody else. You go on the ride with each other, and it's amazing. So
Yay. Kumbaya.
Kumbaya. There you go. Well, Brian and Kelley, thank you so much for doing the podcast. I hope to have you all back on. And you want to tell the audience, do you guys have any projects coming out soon that you want to plug? Or
I think we could just talk about Igniting the Spark. All right. So Igniting the Spark, the story of Magic the Gathering. I think we know what we were talking about. Yeah. So you can see it a lot of different places. You can see it on Amazon. You can see it on Google. You can see it on Apple Play. Where else, Brian?
Vimeo. It's on Vimeo, which is a good one. It's on Vimeo. It's a good one if you are outside of the United States. It is a place that is not weirdly like region locked or whatever because of the strange deals that take place.
And this is all right
now.
now. It'll change over time. There's deals.
They always add places
get made and stuff.
it grows.
But right now, that's where you can find it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah. We do have other projects. We can't necessarily talk about them. I have many things that are about to come out. I can't talk about them yet. Stuff I'm working on, but as Brian Volkweis always says, stay tuned.
Oh, it does.
which he revealed at Comic-Con. He revealed is his contractually safe way of saying yes to things, like it might be happening when he's not allowed to say that.
I thought you were going to say it's his make it so.
No,
But
no, no,
never
no, no,
mind.
no. It
Well,
is.
real quick, I will
I've started
say
doing it too.
my personal favorite thing on Netflix is the toys that made us, the movies that made us. Uh, are you so you have you're directing an episode or have a directed episode
So
of the upcoming
yeah,
season?
Polly Pocket is co-directed because I shot everything. I did all the interviews. Everything was kind of me when it was going to be a movie, and it became an episode for Toys That Made Us. So it gets handed over to the showrunner. So I'm still there to consult, and I'm still there to help. And but they're going to put their mark on it. They're going to turn it into a Toys That Made Us episode. You know what I mean?
They have a
Because
very distinct style. Yeah.
yeah, and when I had early cuts of it as a movie, we were very intentionally trying to not make it Toys That Made Us, just because it's not part of that show. So you want there to be sort of differentiation. So I like to say I co-directed it, but yeah, so that's exciting. The next two seasons are going to be awesome. There's a lot of good stuff in it. Go online; it's all been announced. You can find it all. And then they have a show called Icons Unearthed, which kind of replaced Movies That Made Us because it's even deeper dives into this stuff. I've done shooting and stuff for that, but I'm not officially attached to that one because who has time? They do so much stuff.
I just looked up season 4. Holy crap.
Yeah,
They're doing
everyone,
Hot
everyone,
Wheels.
yeah,
Oh,
everyone,
that's so
run, check it out.
cool.
Good stuff.
Oh, can't wait.
So excited.
Yeah, so that's all on the horizon. As Brian says, stay tuned. And I think that's all I can really talk about because anything else I know, I'm not sure what they've announced. I don't want to get in trouble.
No, I know. I don't. I'm gonna when we edit this episode. I'm sure I'm gonna have to cut things out that I was talking about. I don't know.
Well, nothing we've talked
We
about
didn't
is a
hear
problem
anything.
for us.
We
So,
don't know what you're talking
I'm
about.
talking about on my end.
well, hey, do what you got to do, man.
But y'all, thank you so much. Hopefully, have you
Thank
back
you.
on.
Thanks for having
and,
us.
Y'all, thank you for watching. Y'all, hit that subscribe button and go check out Igniting the Spark, the Magic the Gathering story. And y'all, keep being nerdy. I'll see you in the next episode.